Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Fearless Generations with Terry Sayer and Kelly Fox.
Hello, and welcome to Fearless Generations, 12 Steps to Freedom. This is Kelly Fox, and we are starting Step 7, which is surrender. Tonight is introduction night, which means pretty much anything goes. And so we are going to talk about all things surrender and what that means, what that word brings to mind, the pictures and all of that good stuff. So let's get going. Let me welcome my beautiful co-host, Terry Sayer. How are you doing tonight, Terry?
I'm doing great. I was just reading the introduction for our guest this evening, and I'm really looking forward to our discussion.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And let's introduce our guest. Please, everyone, welcome to the show for the first time, Melanie Yates.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. It is so good to be here.
We are so glad to have you. So, Melanie, please introduce yourself to our audience. Tell them what you get to do and who you get to serve.
That is so awesome. Well, you know how people get stuck, feeling overwhelmed, unmotivated, or waking up one day and just feeling lost. Well, as a neuro coach, I help you surrender thoughts that aren't working anymore and create new neural pathways to think at a higher frequency. My coaching approach combines neuroscience, psychology, and spirituality to manage emotions and false beliefs to get results and create the life you desire.
Sounds pretty awesome to me.
I love helping people, and, you know, I think after the pandemic, a lot of people have had different ways of dealing with emotions, and I know that emotions sneak up on us, and if we don't manage them, it ends up, what I feel happens is they get stacked up. And then it starts feeling like that's what overwhelm to me feels like, when emotions are stacked up one upon another and we're not doing anything about them. And we think everything's fine. We may be eating or working or who knows, to kind of push those emotions down, to kind of subdue or medicate in any kind of way. I mean, it could be even just watching TV, but when we are checking out, we're not really dealing with what's right in front of us. And we can get lost pretty easily when we do that.
Yeah. So, surrender, what does that mean to you?
Surrender, to me, if I could sum it up in one word, it would be grace. Because when I think of the word grace, it's this gift. I don't do anything for it. It comes to me when I least expect it. And for me, surrender is, I can't choose to surrender. I can't force a surrender. I can't make a surrender happen. And so the word grace just is so sufficient to describe what surrender means to me, because I've had so many moments in my life where I say, okay, God, I'm going to give this over to you. I'm surrendering myself, right? And it could be, something that's hard to go through. It could just be a problem in the day. It could be a circumstance. And I really sincerely know that I need a higher power in that moment. And I want to surrender. I want to stop fighting and controlling and managing and trying to figure it out. And I'll say the words, I surrender, and then it could be moments later, and then it's like I took it back, like I'm trying to figure it out again, I'm trying to control it again, and so I feel like surrender it happens to you. You can't make it happen. Now I know that we can be in a place where we are better to receive it. But for me, surrender is this gift, and it's not a one and done. You could go through the gift of surrender many times in one day.
Mhm. Very interesting. Yeah, I don't think I've thought of it that way specifically, in the sense of tying it to grace.
Well, I just think of, have you ever tried to control something, maybe it's even justifiable, right? Like I feel like relationships, everybody has relationships, right? We all have relationships, whether it's a spouse, a child, parents, friends, coworkers, a boss, we have, the lady at the grocery store, right? We all have relationships. And so no matter who you are, somebody is going to do something that you don't agree with or you don't like, and in your mind you think it should be a certain way. And that's, to me, the whole reason why I need to understand what the word surrender means is because I have this, I don't know if I want to go as far as call it a disease, but it feels like a disease of control. I think I know the best way things should go. I have this, vision in my mind about, how Easter dinner is going to go, right? We make up these plans in our mind, and then something happens at Easter dinner that and it's basically because I couldn't manage, control, manipulate, fix, change, whatever it is that I thought it was supposed to look like. So when I can think of, in that moment, something like, the ham is burned or the cheese sauce didn't turn out right, it's like, in that moment, can I just surrender and receive that gift of grace that it must be exactly the way it's supposed to be?
Yeah.
Have you ever felt like that? Like you've been in that moment where you wanted it to be a certain way and then it wasn't?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I can definitely relate to that, of wanting something to go a specific way and it totally not going that way, and just in that moment just saying, okay, this is how it is, and I'm just going to make the best of it.
Exactly.
Maybe it didn't turn out the way I wanted.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of power in the way we look at things and the way that we think we know about how something's supposed to be. And I love this prayer. It's called the Set Aside Prayer. And it starts out like this: God, help me set aside what I think I know so I can have a new experience. And I love that because it applies to any situation, and I need God's help. And to me, it's kind of like it's another form of surrender, because I have to let go of the way I think it's supposed to be. I have to let go of the control. And, I think the best way is just to be like, I don't know. I think that keeps us in an open mind and an open heart, and creates a space of willingness to have the gift of surrender. I mean, a lot of us need to create space for that gift of surrender or grace to actually fall onto us, because if we're caught up in the perfection and the control, and I know it's supposed to be like this. We don't have the space to actually let go.
Yeah, absolutely. Terry, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I had to chuckle a little bit when you were saying that you surrendered and then you take it back. I had to chuckle because there's been so many times that I have felt like I have gone to that space of surrender, and you have that automatic relief, and you might call it grace. Like, you just have that knowing that it's in God's hands. You surrendered it to him, and you're willing to accept that through faith. And then so I've done that, and I've felt the relief, and maybe that's what you're saying, the grace. I've just felt the relief of releasing that, whatever it is, relationship, situation, whatever it is, I've released that. I've surrendered it to God. And then, after a period of time, sometimes very short period of time, I'll say, okay, I'll take it back. And I want it to be back with the way it was. So I really didn't surrender it. I just went through that, the motions of doing that. But I think for me, grace, I understand, again, grace means different things to different people. I also think for me, surrendering is an absolute spiritual experience. And it's the opportunity that I take to have faith that when Christ told us to, yoke ourselves to him because our burdens will be light at that point. And I think for me, it's just, I know intellectually, I believe wholeheartedly that God will do that for me if I have the faith to release and surrender whatever is happening in my life, so that my life has this flow. And my life will flow in a way that I don't have expectations. I'm living in that space of, for me, living my covenants, having my spiritual self flowing, and that just then makes my life have grace and ease. And so for me, it's very much tied to my belief system, to my values, and to my spirituality. And I feel like surrendering is having total faith in the promises that God gave me. And when I can surrender and follow that flow, let that flow, believe that I don't know what's going to happen, and that's okay because I'm not in charge. And that gives me the peace and the capacity to move forward in my life without having to know. And I'm a recovering perfectionist, so I can say I know the difference. I can tell you the difference. I can feel the difference when I am surrendering rather than having to be in control. And it's a much more pleasant space, a much more peaceful space, a joyful space, a space where my thoughts, my words, and my actions are in alignment with my spirituality. And that's when I can say I have surrendered that. And like you said, when you have that feeling, that angst, and you know that it's not flowing, you can stop and ask yourself, what is it that I'm not willing to say, that I don't know, that I can't control, and then just give it to God and surrender it to him. And then I'll feel in the flow again, and I'll feel like I can be positive and I'm motivated. And, it would be nice if that was 100% of the time, but, that's perfection, right? And I know that there's no such thing as perfection because I am a recovering perfectionist. And so I just feel like surrendering to me puts me in the flow. It aligns me with my values. It aligns me with my spirituality. It aligns me with that. I call it aligns me with that still small voice of the Holy Spirit that just helps me to make decisions, helps me to say things in a way that's in alignment with my belief system. So, yeah, I can equate to grace. So, that's what I was thinking.
I love it. I agree with all of that. It's awesome. I think, to me, there's like 3 steps that help me kind of align myself with God. And the first one is just the awareness that that I want something my way, right? Because I don't know about you, but my day can go sour really quick if I don't get what I wanted, you know, and it's just kind of a wake-up call. And so my step one is awareness. Like, I have to admit that God knows more than me, and that whatever is going on, God has more knowledge and a better plan than I do. And just that awareness of, I can tell I'm right, like teeter-tottering on the fence about, am I going to choose God or am I going to choose me? You know, am I going to choose my will? Am I going to choose God? Because when I feel like I'm choosing God's way, that's my surrender. But sometimes, like I said, I want to take it back. Or sometimes it's just those emotions I was talking about. Well, those emotions can be so strong that it feels like the emotion makes the decision for me, or it pulls me towards just wanting my way, no matter what. And so people can really get stuck there. And I mean, that's one of the things I love, helping clients be able to come aware of emotions that are holding them back from actually choosing God. Because that's a reality. I've found that that's a reality. And so just admitting, you know, God's the manager. I can't manage it as good as God. So just being able to just have that awareness is my step one. And like what you were saying, my step two is believe that God can know what's best for me. He really, his plan is better than mine. And, you know, I have this little story when, you know, I was dating this guy that I was in love with, and I wanted to get married so bad. And I thought this guy was the guy. And I would pray about it. And, you know, I had to I kept practicing surrender, because the facts were he wasn't asking, right? So it's like, okay, if I love this person and this is really, you know, meant to be, more is going to be revealed. And I would just cry my heart out and pray with, you know, everything in me for God to show me his will. And, you know, it took about 3 years for me to walk away from that relationship, because we weren't any closer to getting married than, you know, the first year. And so I felt like that was like, I was willing to believe that God had something else for me, because I believed that God could support me in that desire and dream. And it's just amazing to me, because it was hard for me to let go of what I wanted, you know, and I was so in love. So when you think of emotion, like something like that, like love, you know, it's, you know, and in the time invested in that relationship, it was hard to walk away and just surrender to that. This isn't meant to be. And then to have found my husband that I have now, everything makes so much more sense. Like God had a better plan. He had a bigger plan. He knew more than I did, and he knew what was best for me. And I just, whenever I doubt, because my step two, sometimes it's hard to believe, and I might go into doubt. So I have to remember the times where it really did work out to surrender. You know, it really did work out to do the divine's way, to choose a higher power over what I think is going to make me happy. And I'm just, I think, looking where God had taken me and where the journey has gone has really allowed me to keep trying, to keep practicing this art of surrender and letting go and receiving this grace and this gift that God wants us to have. I mean, he really does. So step 3 is making a decision to trust. And the decision, I like to make a decision to take time in the morning to really meditate and be in the now. For me, surrender is the present moment. So if I can take time, and I put 10 minutes because, but maybe when you start out, it's 1 minute of dedicating, making a decision to be right here, right now, in the present moment. I think this mindfulness and this intention of being able to receive that surrender, I mean, to me, when I take that moment to just be here and now, not worrying about yesterday or tomorrow, I'm doing my part to be ready for the letting go. I feel like it's really hard for me to let go and surrender by myself. I want to. I can say the words. For me, I like going through these steps to just kind of help me be open to the surrender. This is what I have to do to be open to that surrender, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. A lot of the things that you said are some of the steps that we have in our 12 steps to freedom. And the first one is always awareness. And I think that's the beginning of almost any transformation or change that we want to make in our lives, to align ourselves with our higher power.
Yeah, and I think accepting that we're human, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's why we need God, right? Because we're
moment.
only human.
Yeah.
So true.
What did you say, Kelly?
Step 6 is present moment.
Yeah,
so
that's one we just
have
did.
to be in the present moment to
preparation.
surrender. Yep. Yep. Well,
That
ladies,
prepares you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. We're almost at the end of our time here. And I want to give you, Melanie, some time to share with the audience how they can find you and if you have anything that you want to share with them.
Oh, absolutely. So I have a website that is happyjoyousandfree.org. And you can go there. You can find out about EFT, which is tapping. And I feel like body language and tapping are great tools to manage those emotions that I was talking about. Like when you want to surrender, but you could still feel a little stuck. And that's totally normal. That's why we have tools that I feel like God gave us as resources. So at happyjoyousandfree.org, you can sign up for a consult, and it's a free consult. Anyone who hears this, if you go to my website, I will send you a free copy of my book when you sign up for a free consultation. And all that would be is sharing with you how tapping could help manage emotions, be able to talk about how I can help guide with goals and dreams that you could have with your life and creating a vision. So that I wanted to offer that to anyone who's listening, who's looking for someone to guide them. Just sign up for the free consult and you'll get a free book sent to you directly.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And please do post your website in our Facebook group and on our page so that our listeners can have easy one-click access to you. And we appreciate your generosity of offering your book.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if there was one thing that you would want the listeners to walk away with tonight, what would it be?
That grace is available for everyone. It's literally about opening your hands, giving your brain the body language that I'm worthy to receive this gift right now, just the way I am.
Love that. Love that. Thank you so much for being here, Melanie. We have loved having you. Terry, any last word that you'd like to share?
I don't know what there's not just one thing I want to say, but I believe surrendering is such an important way to have peace. And I feel whole when I feel peace. And I feel inner peace, and that to me is one of the gifts of surrendering, and just really having faith in God, your higher power, to take care of you. He has your back. He's got a plan for you, and it's not on your timetable. And just having faith that will occur, and it helps you in times of chaos and times of challenges, and when things happen in your life that are challenging to you, that peace, that inner peace that comes from surrendering to God can get you through those things and help you still have that sense that you're in the flow and you're in alignment, even in those difficult moments of our life.
Yeah.
I just want to thank both of you, because this is so amazing what you're doing and the content that you're putting out there to make the world a better place. I just appreciate what you guys are doing, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really am impressed with this content. I got to listen to a lot of your podcast this last couple of weeks while I was preparing to meet you. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that. We love doing this. We love bringing people on like you who can share and give even more to our listeners so that they can have an expansive use of tools and language to support them to live a life that is with less fear. So thank you so much. We want to remind you all that the 12 Steps to Freedom are created by Rhonda Britton, the CEO and founder of the Fearless Living Institute. And if you would like to know more about Fearless Living, please go to fearlessliving.org. You can find out everything about Terry and I at fearlessgenerations.org. And we invite you to go there and check it out. We have a free workshop every month called What is Fear? And it will be on the 8th, this Saturday, from 10 to 11:30, and we'd love to have you all there with us and share with you more about what is fear and how we can move past it. So we thank you. We invite you to come back next week, and until then, everybody, be fearless.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.